So I should introduce the show now?
You
Is that what you're
can,
saying?
if you'd like, yeah.
You think I should do this like in some sort of professional manner?
Well,
if we're doing
your
this,
best shot.
all right. Well, my best shot would be this. My best shot would be this is PSVR GamesCast Live. This is the soft reboot. We're trying a little bit something different with some different people here. We got Davestation here. I don't know who's Dave. You can tell me, man. Which side are you on? Are you on the right side?
I am on the right side. You are on the left. We got.
I'm on the left.
AJ in the middle.
Oh no!
And that was AJ. You're center
space. Personal space.
AJ center stage, man. I hope you know that means now you are the host of the show.
Oh no, we're in trouble.
So this is the second attempt at the live stream. We are now live streaming from Orlando. This is apparently the solution we came up with, and it's quite a solution. So Davestation here, AJ here, and I'm Bryan Paul. This is PSVR Gamescast Live. Gentlemen, how's it going today?
Couldn't be better, man.
Yeah.
Everybody buy the Solus project. Just want to leave with that.
Because you have stock in the Solus project, don't you?
I do. I also work for Trucker VR, and there's somebody else that might work for somebody, so we'll find out soon.
The Preda people are paying you under the table daily.
There are no more Preda people. They don't exist anymore at all.
I saw somebody left a question on the Preda review going, "Hey, how do you do this?" And I said, "You just don't."
Yeah, there is no more.
When's
I don't even
that
know
update
why
coming?
it's still. I don't know. The next update should be to take it off the store.
I will say that the fact that there was an update at all was awesome. I'm so glad that we got that, like, to make it a little bit slightly easier. Guys, a little bit of housekeeping. Let's make sure we take care of all the stuff we need to take care of. Make sure you head on over to the PlayStation 4 community and join the PlayStation 4 PSVR Without Pro Game Cats community. Make sure you join us on Discord. Discord is where the coolest of the cats hang out, apparently, or at least maybe if not the coolest, the ones who stay up way later than everybody else. And then obviously make sure you subscribe to the channel, you like the videos, and you do the whole thing. We are your source for everything PlayStation VR. But we're not the only source for PlayStation VR. We've recruited a couple different people here. AJ is the newest member of our team, but man, he does his own thing over at PSVR Underground, so make sure you subscribe to him. And then Davestation here does his own thing at Davestation VR on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to him as well.
And subscribe to Captain Reth, the Intergalactic Game Cat, please.
Yes.
He does absolutely nothing, but you should sub to him anyways.
Just make him feel good about himself.
Yeah.
If you
I
see him
wouldn't
on
be
the
here
street,
without him.
give him a hug. All right, guys. So let's dive right into it, guys. What have we been playing lately? What's been top line on the list?
I'll let you kick it off because I've been moving the past week and a half, so I've barely played anything, unfortunately. But I'm sure you guys have.
Well,
AJ,
I'm glad you asked.
It's like you didn't know I was going to.
I wasn't ready for this question of all questions. No, I've been playing. So I finally got to take a look at Immortal Legacy last night.
The Jade Cipher.
Yes, and I actually really like it so far.
Yeah.
The funny thing is I was expecting the worst controls in the world, and I can understand that they're not very user friendly, but much to my surprise, I didn't actually hate them, and right away, was kind of kicking ass. So I wasn't really. There's a couple things where I'm kind of concerned because I only got to play an hour in, but that first hour was really fun, man, and it's a really polished game, and pretty excited about it. I will add though that I was a little late to get to it because when I had messaged them with a private message, they blocked me. So I don't know why. But I was a little salty. Got to keep it professional. Got to but I had to give them I had to call them out real quick on that. Why'd you guys block me? I don't understand. I just want to help your game. I just want what's best for you. So help me help you. And really fun stuff so far though.
Yeah, I think I'm not trying to be.
Hold on, I heard the siren. We need something. Do we clap between the
rock paper scissors? Ready? No.
We'll see how good we're synced up.
2, 3, boom.
What is this? Karate.
Oh, you got.
We all slap AJ.
Here, one for you.
I don't know which side you're on. I'm just gonna do this. Get both.
If I'm in the middle, there you go.
So yeah, no, I wasn't being like hyperbolic in my review when I'm talking about like, you know, that finally somebody brought us like Uncharted gameplay in VR. It seems so simple. You're like, I want to run around and shoot people, but like we run around and shoot people in some of the strangest ways possible in VR. And this is like literally, it's like, hey, yeah, you dropped onto this island and you're dual wielding. There's different guns just to pick up. Like everything about it feels Uncharted. And then on top of it, the whole time I'm like, and I know it's a short game and I get it. And the rumor, of course, is that they like ran out of money while they were making it. But it sounds like Sony's got their back now because they're able to patch it. They're talking about bringing us patches. So they didn't block me. Sorry, AJ. But late last night, like 4 a.m., I was having a conversation with them through DM on Twitter, and they're showing me their new control scheme and going, well, what do you think of this? And I said, no. I said,
it was
no.
Still bad.
Well, and that's the thing. They know. They're both like, will this be better in the interim while we add the hold move button in?
I feel like you shouldn't release like an in-between like stopgap thing. Like just wait for the whole deal.
I think this patch might be coming with some comfort settings improvements as well because I said
that would help.
Because I did ask them, I was like, I'm more than the control scheme. I'm like, fucking keep the control scheme, guys. By all means, keep the control scheme because you do get used to it eventually. And once you do, it's like really versatile. Like you're really able to, you know, strafe and do whatever you want to do. Like, and you know, even like changing out your inventory in each hand. I was like, at first I was like, what in God's name is this? But then like eventually like, oh, this is actually really intuitive after a while. So I was like, guys, I just want the comfort settings to be improved. And they're like, yeah, totally on the list. So like they know that ring around you with the arrow telling you to point which way to point. Yeah. They know that's an issue. They know the blinders are an issue. They know turning speed's an issue. So these are people that seem like, despite the fact that the rumor is they ran out of money, they seem like they're on top of this shit. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think it did well. I honestly, if you know, this isn't the best way to judge a game how well it's doing, but a lot of people, when they really like a game, you'll see on the PlayStation Store it has ratings, and if you compare their ratings from launch to a couple others, theirs are significantly higher than some of the other games that are being rated. So, and good ratings at that. So I think they're doing well, and I think that's why they're getting the support that you're talking about, potential support from Sony, whoever. Maybe it's just them just getting the financial support they needed to make the changes, and you know, that could be part of it. But as you predicted, it took me about maybe 10 minutes to get used to the controls, and I was going. There's a couple things that, but really not that.
10 minutes.
I think
so the funny thing
most people are going to take way more than 10 minutes, man.
Yeah. It took me a full playthrough, and then I was still like, eh.
You said you played through it twice, and then you really understood the controls.
Well, when I started my second playthrough, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'm totally fine with these controls. But I was like, I shouldn't have to play through the entire game to get used to a control scheme.
No, you should.
Yeah. That's not right. But so I understand when people have issues, but oh, dude, oh man, I don't know if in the chat, Kevgret says Cookie Pie is the worst character in VR history.
It's just pretty terrible.
I'm interested to see how that character plays out. I thought it was a little ridiculous at first, but then like when she's like, "Oh, I'm a streamer" and stuff, I was like, "Okay, that." She looks like a Twitch streamer. Like it looks pretty accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know any Twitch streamers that go to islands trying to find dragons like for their streams. Like that's a whole new market. I guess
they're all on YouTube.
You're right.
They're all on YouTube. So.
But I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not, so I'm not going to say anything dramatically, like that too revealing. But no. In terms of Mako XL, thank you for the donation, guys. He says, "Cool new show."
Mako.
So basically, I was talking to Viva Games, and I was like, dude, they were telling me about like the how to use the projector screen and stuff, and I was like, oh no, I figured it out for sure. No. We were talking about Cookie, about her original role in the original game, and then on top of it, what her role will be in the future. And I'm like, so I'm not gonna. And so I'm like, okay, it sounds like a sequel's in order. It sounds like a sequel's being planned, and it sounds like they didn't get to do everything they wanted to do in this game. So like, I'm like so excited for the future of Immortal Legacy. Also, PSVR Game, he donated $5. I love the new format already. Thanks for hanging in there and working out the technical issues. Thanks, you, Davestation. Yeah, Scott Merrill's the dude. And of course, make sure you guys. Hopefully we don't run into Amanda's stream tonight because her Thursday night Amanda versus streams. I know he's a big fan of that, so we'll try to say it's not. But thank you, Davestation, for setting all this up absolutely last minute in Orlando and running it out of his house. So this wouldn't be happening at all. Major charter issues. Dave, how far into Immortal Legacy?
Oh man, I'm starting to lose you a little bit. So yeah, maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours tops. I got to the part where you're outside and there's the really cool weather effects, and that's the part that I saw that really sold me on the game originally. When I saw the trees blowing and the rain coming down, I was like, this is incredible. I've never seen anything this well done, weather effects wise. So that's about where I got to. Like, it's like those ruins before you get into the cave kind of stuff. And I fought the first the worm boss, the guy who pops out, and I had started getting the hang of the controls, but still was feeling like half the time I would do something I didn't mean to do the first time, and I'd be like, okay, well, that was it.
Yeah, I will say, go ahead.
I was gonna say it has some major Uncharted 1 vibes for me, just in the first hour. That's all I'm in. Major, and then the characters remind me of like every Capcom sidekick that there is, like Trish from Devil May Cry.
That's not a high bar you're setting here.
I'm trying to think of other ones, but it reminds me of a lot of like Uncharted 1 and like every Capcom IP.
Yeah. As I said, those weather effects are amazing. The lightning, the trees blowing in the wind. I mean, when even the when you first get underground, and like it's just some really amazing effects and really really immersive things that they give you to do with that. Holding the compass in one hand and then holding the knife in the other hand. I'm like, man, this just feels really good. And it gives you that Resident Evil 7 feel when you're up to your neck in water, but actually gives you something to do in that environment. And I think it's and I think like when I was first playing through it, I was like, how is this game not more expensive? Like how is this not like a $30 or $40 game minimum? And I think the only reason is because of its length. I think if this was I think most people take about 4 hours to get through it. But if this was a 7-hour game, this could easily be a $60 PSVR game. I think this is when Sony was talking about the new AAA standard for PSVR. I think this is the game they were talking about.
Except for the controls are nowhere near what you'd pay $60 for. If people bought a $60 game, even if it's 25 hours long, and they get in and it takes them 2 hours to learn the controls, or the whole first 6 hours, as long as it took you, that's a no-go. So they need like AAA polished input too if they're going to try and pull that off. I feel like
the issue is that they were so close. They were so close. I feel like if they held off for like 2 more months, they could have totally been there. Everything could have been smoothed out. They were so close.
Well, I think they had a little bit of that thing too, where some devs sort of think they know they've got it figured out a certain way, where like, we've been doing this for the whole development of our game and it works just fine for us. We can beat the boss just fine. It's not a difficulty spike issue. No problem, Brian. But like, I think once the feedback starts coming in, at least they're open to it. They're willing to take it and do something with it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Stay Warm 420, the Game Cat asks, are the visuals on par with Resident Evil 7? And I think the answer is no, but yes. It's like they're impressive in a totally different way.
It is impressive visually. It's not like, we had some of these, you mentioned like $20 games and that you're surprised it's $20 because it doesn't look $20. It looks really good. We had some of these other 21s like Falcon Age, where it might be a bigger, longer game, but Jupiter and Mars, everything, but they do not look as good. And so I'm kind of up in the air about, well, if I pay $20 for a game, do I want a short, polished experience, or do I want a longer, jankier, like less good looking game? And
or do you want a Falcon?
I always want a Falcon. That Falcon is awesome, man. I love the Falcon.
Duran Fan VR, the Game Cat says, controls can't be any worse than paper dolls, right?
They certainly come close, but
I mean, the fact that click turning in paper dolls required a double click with the trigger, is that what it was? I forget it was so bad.
I skipped that one. I bought it, but I skipped it.
But paper dolls is another thing. It was like $15 or something, and I was like, holy crap, man! Like, the paper dolls is another game that I feel like a lot of people should play and just fucking deal with the controls. Like there are so many great PSVR games that I think are not going to age well because of the control issue. But if you just stick with it, you might find like these little hidden gems everywhere. I don't know. I like paper dolls. I'll play anything scary. That's the problem.
Yeah. You have kind of how I accept, bad controls. You'll accept bad horror games.
I'll accept it. No, because like Chainman VR. Was it Chainman?
Oh, you played Chainman, the Japanese store one? I never got around to that one.
No,
I did a live stream, and I was like, this is where I draw the line. Like the gameplay was boring. It was just like, go here and bring this back here. Go over here and bring the same exact thing over back here. And it was just like these stupid fetch quests where you had to be stealthy, and it was just boring. And like once you started dying, you stopped caring about getting killed, and the horror element just kind of disappeared entirely. So like there are horror games that I'm just like I find totally unacceptable even in VR.
But then there's Deadland, which you still somehow enjoyed. I don't know.
Deadland is $5, and I will say for $5 I had 6 hours of fun.
You shouldn't have played it for that long, but it's okay.
I needed the flamethrower.
I really wanted the flamethrower too. I was not willing to put in enough time, but it looked pretty fucking cool, I gotta say.
We really shouldn't like that game, but I don't know. It was kind of stupid fun.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, but it did everything wrong. Everything that it could possibly get wrong, it did wrong.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It was pretty bad. But I'm not. But that's the thing. I think price always comes into it. If they were charging like $20 for Deadland, I would have been like, you guys are insane. And if they were charging like $40 for Immortal Legacy in its current state with the current control scheme, I would have been like, no, this is unacceptable. But I do think like when games have issues, you can lower the price down to a point where it's acceptable, where you're like, oh hey, this is, I understand this isn't the most polished game, but that's what the definition of a budget game usually is.
Yeah.
Speaking of lowering prices, Just Incredible, my boy Juice, mentioned that Space Junkies is going to be getting it's going to be $16 apparently.
Yeah,
and they're changing the price, and maybe add content and move. Maybe
is that a permanent price drop?
I think it's a permanent price drop.
Oh, I think it's a sale. No, I think it's a sale, man. I'm pretty sure it's like a sale? I think it's like this weekend or maybe through next week or something. I got to double check, but I'll see if I can pull up the info while we're talking.
Gotcha. But yeah.
So I don't know. So see, here's my thing. My final word on Immortal Legacy. I don't know if it's time for the final word on this game.
I'll have the final word, sir.
Well, then I will begin the final word conference.
That's our first segment we're rolling out. The final word with AJ. Every game we get the final.
You had 90 seconds. Put it up on the clock. Should we or shouldn't we? Because is that like basically like I find Immortal Legacy to be so much fun. Right? I talk about how I want to play like Resident Evil 7 once a year kind of thing. Like I just want to, that's a world I want to dive into and just play it from start to finish like every single year because I love it so much and it does everything that I like. Immortal Legacy does the same for me, except I can already play through that game in one sitting. When I played through it on easy for my second time around, I played through it the entire game in 3 hours, didn't die once, blasted through the entire thing and just had an awesome time. And so like that I think that speaks worlds about like the kind of game that it is and how well it speaks to me and just how much fun I'm having. And I think when you talk about how much fun you're having, it overrides very frequently some of the major issues.
Absolutely.
So that's my final word on for $20. I'm it's a total should we in my book. I think it's one of PlayStation VR's top 10 games, to be honest with you.
Oh wow.
Real quick.
Words, big words there.
Those are big words. Real quick, does it unlock a hard mode when you beat it on normal?
No. In fact,
normal mode is difficult or frustrating enough, I would say.
Frustrating enough. They do need to do some balancing.
Yeah. So Space Junkies, I got the deets. It's 2 weeks that they're going to be on sale, 60% off. And they just added a new character, map, game mode, and customization items, and then smooth turning and move support are early May. So that's the scoop.
So wait, so early May we get move, and when does it go on sale? It coincide?
It goes on sale April 26th through May 6th. So
they're basically saying buy it and we promise it the fucking batches.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, that's cool, man. $16. It's a fun game. It doesn't have a lot of replayability because it's all cosmetic progression. So if you like your outfit, then you really just the gameplay is what's going to keep you coming back. Maybe with Quiver, we'll mention Quiver real quick. you know, you get loot. It's a multiplayer game, but it's a little bit repetitive at times, but it has really good gameplay like Space Junkies does. But then also, you know, it uses the moves. It also has loot, and like you get this legendary like chest armor stuff that like makes you shoot an arrow and takes out like 20 guys in an area, and that's a lot of incentive to come back and keep playing. I mean, I haven't even beaten the second chapter yet, but I plan on doing that with some game cats for sure.
So with Space Junkies, that doesn't bother me too much, just because that's how it used to be in like a classic arena deathmatch game. Like you weren't gonna get an upgrade that made you any better at anything, because you just were gonna play the same arcadey shoot 'em kind of thing over and over again, and that's like the fun of it. I really like Space Junkies, especially for $16. Like that's a crazy good price.
16, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. It is fun. It's got, even with the DualShock 4, it's got good gameplay. But
no, I didn't have any issues with it.
But people are hardcore about their move support and aim support and everything. And you gotta, even if it sucks, just put it in the game. People will buy it, and then they'll be like, "Oh, well, the DualShock's fun. I'll just enjoy it this way." But also the price was way too much too.
Yeah, I mean, an online only multiplayer only game for $40 is bound to be a bad sell, because you know, like when it was a free beta, there were people all over the lobbies. I could get a game in like 2 seconds, and now you have to sit there forever, and you just end up in a one-on-one with some dude who just got it, and you're like, "I'm sorry, dude. I guess I'm just gonna sit here and murder you until you leave." And it's not even fun for anybody, you know. So hopefully it gets more populated with the sale.
I mean, you know, with Starblood leaving the PlayStation Store and soon not to be, you know, playable at all anymore, you know, I think this is going to be an interesting substitution, and also an interesting strategy on Ubisoft's. It obviously didn't sell well. There'd be no way they'd be dropping the price to $16, especially so quickly after launch. Well, if it was selling well.
So some inside scoop info is that I think they sold like less than 5,000 copies of it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really bad. I mean, the amount that they sold, but it makes sense. I mean, they released it without move support, which even if it didn't really need move support, nobody was going to like that. Everybody was going to get upset on Reddit and shit. So, yeah.
I agree, Nick Milo. I hope it's not our move support sucks, but here it is, and buy it and find out it sucks in 2 weeks. I agree.
I still think I'll play with the DualShock anyways. Like, if there's a community, I'm going to stick with DualShock.
I have to. If the moves are really good, I have to use the moves. The only game I didn't use the moves, like maybe In Death, where I liked the DualShock 4 with the crossbow, and that was it.
Yeah, for me with that one, it's like, if it's a fast-paced, like, arena deathmatch game, I want my sticks. Like, and on PC, you're cross-playing against those people, and they have sticks. So it's like, if I got to wave one-handed left to, like, move, then they're dual-wielding when I could be dual-wielding, and so they're going to kill me. So I have to take one of the two gun hands away to move, which seems like it would be kind of not competitive.
Not really, because you're floating in space, so it's momentum. So you're activating your jet, you're floating while you're flying across the level.
It's not like it's aim. Like...
you know, they should just implement the Immortal Legacy control scheme and everything will be fine.
Actually, I think the thing that they were saying was like using the face buttons for movement, which seems in a game like this, might be kind of... We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like in a game like Space Junkies, it's like, you know, if you want to have your guns in front of you the entire time, then you want to be able to, you want to have that full range of movement without.
You kind of need it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with games like Space Junkies utilizing a strange control scheme, because it just kind of needs it. Like you said, you know, if you're not able to shoot with both hands at all times, you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
The Space Junkies does have cross-play, right? We're playing with people on PC.
It does theoretically. I could never get PC games going for some reason.
But like Kev pointed out, the cross-play isn't helping that game at all. It usually does. It seems like it would, but it really, the only way it's going to help at this point is unless there's a big surge during the sale. The only way it's going to help is if you have buddies that have a Rift and you want to play together with them and do the cross-play that way. But it didn't, of all games, that's one of the ones that, like, I was actually a little surprised that how empty it was, like, day one.
It was insanely empty. Like, I thought the day it got released, somebody would be playing it out there. And because the betas were super populated. There were people all weekend just playing the shit. But if free versus free $40,
do that.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to say that Preach came through and called us DualShock 4 hippies. He said,
I saw that. Yeah. I try not to acknowledge Preach, but I don't have to.
Guess what? You've played a controller your whole entire life. It's no different. I understand the more immersion. I like I said, I like to use the moves when possible too, but it's a controller. Like, it's meant. Resident Evil 7. Hello. It's a freaking fantastic game with the DualShock 4 because it's a controller and it's nothing different.
Anyone out there who says they're not playing Resident Evil 7 because it doesn't have move support are just hiding what scaredy cats they are. And because man, like, I think Resident Evil 7 is one of those games where it's so hard to play because it's so scary, and I think people are just using the whole DualShock 4 situation as an excuse, being like, no, until it gets move support, I ain't playing it.
It's funny because that's the one game like I never hear people really say that about. There's so many new games coming out that people are like, oh, this doesn't have move support, fuck it. But everyone will say.
I hear it all the time for RE7.
For Resident Evil, I've never heard that before. Wow.
Yeah, during Jeremy's Monday night live streams, I'm constantly telling people, don't worry that it doesn't have move support. Don't worry that you have to use head tracking for aiming. Don't worry about any of that. No, it doesn't have aim support. Just play the goddamn game because it's fucking amazing. It's still the best PlayStation VR game we have, I think, as far as I'm concerned. Is that true? Yeah, it's
certainly close. If it's not number one.
What are the other contenders?
Oh, jeez, we're gonna get into.
What are you saying? Wait, well, hold on, I missed that. Did you say like best game that uses the DualShock 4?
No, just best PSVR game.
Best PSVR game? Oh shit, man. I mean, it's either that or Astrobot.
Yeah, Astrobot is what I was gonna say, probably.
It's probably between those two for me.
See, for me, Astrobot like killed it out of the gate. I loved every second of it while I played it. I played it like I didn't collect everything yet, but I played the crap out of that game. And then I just kind of was like, okay, I'm done. Like I have no desire to go back to Astrobot and like keep playing it. But like I know the horror thing will always keep me coming back. But man, Resident Evil 7 is a game that I always want to go back to. So like Astrobot isn't a contender for like probably even the top 3 for me right now.
Well, there are people that go back and play that. Jay Meow talks about it all the time, that he's played Astrobot for the 10th time, and I understand. You know, I actually want to go back and play it at some point.
Yeah.
Even though usually once I get a platinum trophy, that's usually where I am like, okay, I'm good on this. But
yeah,
I think there's going to be a long enough break where it's like I get to experience some of this again and remember how fun and exciting it was. I mean, it blew my mind the first time I played it. It was like everything I wanted at first.
Speaking of JDAO, let's make sure that we give JDAO a shout out, and everybody go join us on Discord and then sign up for JDAO's caption contest.
Oh God. He really wants everybody to sign up for it, doesn't he?
He really does.
He won't stop talking about it.
He's staking his life on the success of this contest.
It's kind of like it's going to be kind of like Cards Against Humanity, but with captions.
And 50 people playing at the same time.
And I don't know why he had to have 50.
He really wants that 50.
Like he's trying to build a small army or something. I don't know what's going on.
I signed up for it, but if we get 51, I'm backing out. I don't have time for this shit.
Just
but I don't know. I have faith that JDAO is going to kill it, though. I have faith it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah. So wait, what other games are like in our top 3 then?
Well, so when you mentioned that Resident Evil 7 kept making you want to come back and play more of it, the game that really did that for me, and I don't know if I would objectively say it's like one of the top 3, but it's close, is Borderlands. Because I played through the entire game on stream, which I've never done for any game before, just because I wanted to keep playing it. And then once I was finished, I went back and I started the true Vault Hunter mode. And like I never really do New Game Plus stuff on games, but I just liked it so much, and they got aim support and everything, so that one has really sucked the most time out of me out of any game, I think, in VR.
Borderlands is fantastic, especially with the aim.
Oh yeah, the aim support was so well done. I can't complain at all. Shout out to Wolfie Smith, the Game Cup, for the £2 yeah, I'm like still waking up over here. Donation. He said, glad you get the show sorted, with a thumbs up. So thank you, Wolfie Smith. Yeah, we're very happy about that. I was frustrated as fuck during the testing.
The other ones I have are definitely
Beat Saber.
Beat Saber and Firewall.
Firewall. Yep.
One of those. You know, honestly, if Firewall, for the longest time, I never ran into any of these connection issues because I always played with 3 other people of squad of 4. So when you play with a squad of 4, and you get host, it's pretty seamless. I mean, you just join, people will join, you get a match started, and it just, keeps going. But when you try to play by yourself, like you have like the host migration issues, you have like even especially like three people, it'll like shoot other people onto the other team. Um
Right.
uh but so if Firewall didn't have all the multiplayer issues, it probably would be my number one. But that's why I got to put something like Astrobot over it, because it's like it doesn't have any bugs, it doesn't have any issues like that it has to deal with. So and then of course there's Beat Saber, which is just, it's really ridiculous. I don't usually like electronic music, but I find myself listening to a lot of Beat Saber electronic music lately, and it's kind of grown on me a little bit, especially once you get into the higher difficulties like Expert and Expert Plus. That the rhythm, the movements, everything really feels fun, and it makes you do like little weird dances, and that's really where it shines for me.
Quick reminder, AJ just posted a Beat Saber tips and tricks video, very, very helpful for all you Beat Saber fans out there, on the Without Parole channel. So go click on this. It's very good.
Speaking of, thanks for the plug, Dave. Speaking of that video, I think the biggest question that everyone had in the comments section for that video was asking AJ, when you do the calibration, why do you take a step back from the feet on the floor? Because you said to do it, but then you didn't really explain why. So what's the deal with that?
I did explain why. It says because
I wasn't listening. Sorry.
It gives you a little. Well, there's crab rave going on, so by the point where I'm explaining it, you're like, "Ooh, green saber," but essentially, when you calibrate, every game. What I love about PSVR games is you can kind of cheat them a little. They all have something that it's like, okay, this is what we're going to give you. But they never tell you like, oh, well, if you do this a little bit differently, if you do this a little bit differently, it's actually much better.
So are you saying you're so good at Beat Saber because you've been cheating this whole time? Is that what it is?
Okay. Yep. I just cheat. That's all I do. And then tell you how to cheat too. No, I'm kidding. But essentially, when you stand where it tells you to stand, it feels like the blocks come at you and you don't really have much time to react. And if you take that little step back, it just gives you like a little bit, it gives you like an extra second to see what's coming. It actually does widen your field of view as well. And somebody also mentioned in the comments that, well, you can turn off the debris. Well, I don't really like to do that. I like the debris flying everywhere when I slice it. So I try to keep that in there. So you can technically just turn off the debris and see better. But if you don't want to do that, if you take a step back and make sure the blocks aren't too high up, it just gives you better view and also gives you like one extra second. That one extra second is pretty big when you're playing that game.
I just realized that Dez's microphone has been on for like the last 3 days straight. So I don't know if it sounds any different now, but
it sounds good still. I mean, I don't know if anything changed, but
all right. That was so weird. I was just like, what is wrong with, like, oh, the other microphone's on. Yeah. So but we didn't talk about Skyrim. I mean, I know we're just like diving deep into like the PlayStation VR archive at this point, but the fact is, I think if you talk about essential like top 3 PSVR games, and Skyrim's not in that conversation. Like, right. I remember when JD finally played Skyrim, and like it was like you get notifications.
Saw him
3 times. I'd see him 3 times a day. I get notifications from Twitch being like, "Oh, JD's playing Skyrim again." I was like, "Fuck, tell me how it is." It's like non-stop.
Oh, Willbot's here. What's up, Will?
Hey, Will. He said he always comes late. I can change that.
I would so before the patch, the graphical update patch, I wouldn't have Skyrim on there. After this last patch they did, absolutely.
So good.
It looks amazing.
That was pretty incredible. I was blown away. The water effects and everything, just like perfect.
Well, because you're immersed in this whole world, but when it's all blurry and jaggy, it's like kind of hard to appreciate it. Yeah. But when it's crystal clear, it's not crystal clear, but it's really clear. And when it looks that, you really get to like soak in the world and everything, and it makes it so good.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a ton of like open world games on PlayStation VR, but Bethesda proved like kind of out of the gate that it can totally be done and like really, really fucking well, you know? So the fact that we haven't seen, I can only imagine how well it sold. If every single person that has PSVR doesn't own Skyrim, I'm kind of shocked. Like this should be like Breath of the Wild attach rates, you know what I'm saying? And
like more than actual consoles that get sold.
Yeah, that's how it was at the beginning, like on day one, right?
Yeah,
it was like 112% of people who bought a Switch bought Breath of the Wild, and so that, I mean, we should totally have that for Skyrim as well. But it's like what I'm confused about is like, okay, if it sold as well as we think it did or think it should, then where the fuck is where is Fallout 3? Where is Fallout 4 VR? Like where are all these games? You know, Bethesda's bringing us Cyber Pilot, but I don't think that's a fair exchange.
No.
Does anybody want Cyber Pilot? Like,
I want Cyber Pilot.
I do.
Every Wolfenstein game I've ever played has been a good game. There is not, show me a bad Wolfenstein game somewhere, especially in the past like 10 years. Like they've been putting out really solid stuff. So I know it won't be like a full thing. It's like a side experience, but I still think Bethesda can pull off something pretty sweet, and I still love Doom VFR, so I trust
VFR
them
is great
to do something with it.
Funny enough, what's up, Mikey? What's up, Duran? I love what Gabe says here, and he says, "Screw the Falcon, you can ride a dragon in Skyrim." That's a good point. That's a pretty good point.
Yeah, but you can't bump fists with it. You can't give it the little. You can't rub its little head or turn it into a baby.
You can bump a mace between its eyes. That's
it's not as cute though, is it?
I mean, is it time to talk about Falcon Age then? Was that our transition?
Oh yes. Let me get it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. This is Dave's specialty right here.
I'm clicking the stuff.
So I want to talk about Falcon Age, but I can only talk about it pre-patch. The patch that came out like yesterday, the day before, whatever it was, seemed to address a lot of our issues. You know, when you're one of the things I hated was, you know, walking around and trying to go down a slant, and then the locomotion system just totally biffed it, right? And then like every time you moved, the Falcon would fly away. And so I mean, I'm right off the bat, these are two things that the patch fixed. I'm very curious to dive back in and play it. I'm glad I haven't reviewed it yet because I want to review it with this patch. We'll see if these little things can really add up.
It's weird how something so minor as the bird flying away when you walk is so disappointing every time. You're like, oh man, like why do I have to call him back? And I wish he was just hanging out with me. Because on flat screen, it never leaves your hand. Like when you start running around with the DualShock 4 on flat screen, he just chills there the whole time. But I think, that the patch looks like it's got a lot of good stuff. So if you guys haven't checked it out yet, I think this would probably be the time.
I think the big disagreement with Falcon Age comes from the story. Like, you know, because I was kind of bored of the story most of the time, and you seem to really enjoy it, Dave, and I think to a lesser extent you too, AJ, right?
A lot of people have said that they were bored by it or that it was bland. And I think if you're looking for like big action, you know, cinematic, epic beats, like story beats, it's a much smaller, quieter, nuanced kind of. The way the story plays out, I think, is more about the themes of, you know, colonialism and these people rising up and reclaiming their heritage and all this stuff, which is really cool because you don't see that much in games. And in VR especially, you know, if you're a person of color and you've never embodied a character this way before, where it's like you're talking to your auntie and it's like stuff that resonates with you. And I already saw a guy being like, why can't I play as a dude? And it's like, this is why that's cool, to have something that so strongly sort of like states its purpose and its themes. And the writing is actually pretty clever. Like if you sit there and read the dialogue boxes and stuff, I thought it was well written. But I can see how a lot of people wouldn't be that excited with the events in the story or like it's not that it's not Eden Tomorrow or something, you know.
God, there's a transition I'd like to take right now.
Yeah, right.
I'd love to talk about Eden Tomorrow for the next hour. But let's stay on.
Please don't. I'd rather not.
Yeah, let's stay on topic. I think the thing is like you nailed it, Dave. It's like there are great themes in this game. I love the fact that it's, you know, that you're playing as a person of color, that you're not playing as a male. Like it's from the very beginning, you're taking a step outside of like the normal video game narrative, and like with covering, you know, things like, you know, all the topic is covering is great, but it kind of reminds me of every game that has ever come out before Ghost Giant that tried to tackle the topic of depression and it was pretty bad, like Hellblade aside. It's like it basically was just like, just because you have a good theme, I feel you have yourself to follow through and like have a good.
Yeah, no, I can agree with you on that. And like Ghost Giant, I would say, even though I liked Falcon Age's story overall, Ghost Giant blows it way out of the water. Ghost Giant blows everything out of the water as far as that's concerned. And we'll get to that, I hope, at some point here.
I hope so too, definitely. But I mean, I just feel like Falcon Age suffers from the same Uber Entertainment and now Outer Loop Games issue of there just being like not enough to do.
Oh yeah, they always have that problem. Like what's there is really polished, and the art design is always great. Like it always looks good, and for the most part, there's cool mechanics. Like Dino Frontier, zooming in and out from God scale to like ground scale. That was so the cool way that ran so perfectly, and it was just seamless. Like they have good elements, and they always look good, and they're clever and fun and cute, but then they sort of end and haven't really done much of anything. So
yeah, I really think that, like Dino Frontier and like I think Falcon Age could have used like an endless mode, just like Dino Frontier could have. After you're.
It was so empty though. I mean, like they would have had to have a lot bigger areas with more stuff to do. Besides, like
the best part about it was just going around. Honestly, what I really enjoyed was I did kind of enjoy the game loop of it and going around and getting all like the different costumes. Although I gotta address that freaking cat mask that you got for the thing. That have you guys seen that? That is the scariest shit I've ever seen. I worked so hard to get that cat mask for the bird, and as soon as I put it on, I was like, take it off,
put it in the trash, burn it.
Like the dragon was pretty cool. The dragon, and they get like the toys, like the skateboard, and it's doing like ollies and stuff, and I enjoyed that aspect of it for sure. Like just trying to unlock everything for the bird, and I'm actually looking forward to going back and getting the rest, but yeah, it did have some pointless stuff in there, like the lightning golf. It's like, oh cool, God. A lightning golf mini game, and then you go and it's just like the worst thing ever. Like you can't even, like, to beat it, you don't even, again, back to my cheating ways.
Oh, I remember you told me about cheating on that.
For everyone who doesn't know, that wants to get the trophy in that, you don't actually use the lightning whip. You just run up and poke it with the thing that's in your hand, and then you push the ball in that way. That's how you get that. That's how you beat the lightning golf. You can't even play it the way it was designed.
Yeah, using the controls the way they're designed for that game is just messy. It's just really, really messy. It's not fun at all. But that was like that's also the only time when you're in that area right there. It's like the only time you ever have to farm. They make you farm that one time.
And right? saying have to farm is that's a bit of an exaggeration. Like the game tells you to do it for the story like once, and then you never have to do it again.
Right. I just did it while I was golfing. I was doing it in between golfing rounds, trying to figure that out.
AJ wants a snack. He goes and grows an apple.
Yep. Or a whatever potato with tentacles, whatever it was.
Yeah, a strange ass watermelon something or another's. Yeah. I don't know.
But overall, I did enjoy that game though. It's a good platinum to go for real. And I do like open area. The problem I have with that game maybe the most was like there was like a lack of stuff. Like it was this open areas, but they said they had like a 12 to 16 month dev cycle for it. So a little undercooked, but I still think like everything they did with the bird was great. I do love the narrative. It reminded me of a lot of old school games, like going and reading. I mentioned this to you guys before, but being able to read the text, I like that. Not in every game, but I do like it from time to time because you get to hear when you're reading it, their voices the way you want to hear it. So you don't have to worry about crappy voice acting or anything. And you get to tell the story in your head the way you like to see it, just like you would read a book or so. But they also have like a quick second where the character will like start to say something. And it's like
old RPGs, like old JRPGs. They would have someone make a noise, and then you wouldn't have voice acting for the whole, line. It would just be like, "aha," and then you'd see the whole. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it felt
like a rare game or something, like a rare game from the N64 days.
I gotta say, I really also liked the implementation of the dialogue trees, like the choices where you would twist your wrist and select stuff that way. That was like a nice little touch I haven't seen any other game do, or even just branching dialogue paths in any game. Not that it really makes that much difference in this one, but it was a cool touch, I thought.
The most disappointing part of the whole conversation issue is man, like they just tell you over and over and over that you're gonna get to name your bird, you're gonna get to name your bird, you're gonna get to name your bird, and you're like, sweet dude, like you told me like an hour ago I was gonna get to name the bird, so I did, and then you gave me a list of like 6 names, and the name, of course, that I chose, Tornado, definitely not on that list. How strangely enough, they didn't know that I was gonna name my bird Tornado. I can't believe it wasn't there. But for a game,
sure everybody named their bird Wild Song. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's the one I picked too. Yeah.
I don't understand that for a game that is there's not a whole lot of voiceovers and no one ever says the name of your bird out loud. Why can't I just type in Tornado and then have it pop up in text? Like that was the brilliant part of JRPGs back in the 16-bit era, is that if the dialogue box pops up and they're saying your name because you typed it in, it's like, just let me name my fucking bird, man. I mean,
yes. People used to love, I used to always keep the stock names, but I know all of my friends would like to put their name as the main character or something like that. But yeah, it's not like they're calling out the Falcon's name, so why not just let you type it in? And that is kind of like, why? Like, that's questionable.
Yeah,
but
for sure. So speaking of Jupiter and Mars, that no one did.
Oh yes.
no one talked about Jupiter and Mars, but I think there's a reason for that. Man, we did a 2-hour live stream in about 360p, I think, because those were the beginning of my internet problems. And I got to say, for 2 hours of just wandering around aimlessly in that game, I was having a lot of fun. It helped that there was a great, game chat going on. We could all just hang out and talk about 80s movies. But man, it's like I kind of was digging the open environments in the collectathon deals and just having fun, like listening to music and stuff and getting lost and not having much of an objective. And then when I realized that the whole game was like, that's it. And like, oh, and by the way, you're going to get lost a bunch too.
Oh God. Like, yeah. There's sort of like a waypoint system, but it's really hard to follow. I never was able to really. And they said something about like there's certain bubbles that'll like subtly tell you where you're supposed to be going, but I never really noticed any of that shit.
Well, it's a trail on the ground, right? It's like a sparkle trail that's on the ground, the ocean floor, but it doesn't tell you which direction to go. It's like a solid path that's there no matter what. So if you encounter that path,
you don't know which one's forward and backwards. Yeah.
No, right. So you'll just head in the wrong direction for like, minutes and then go, oh crap, I'm at the beginning of the level again. You turn around and just like, oh, let's try this again. Yeah. I didn't like any of the
I didn't even know it was there. You were the one that told me about it, Brian, and then I went and it took me right back to like where a boss was, and that's like right where I came from, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty useless.
Yeah, the octopus boss specifically is where I kept getting turned around and kept ending up back started.
But yeah, I actually tried to. I didn't really mind. I thought the idea of a collectathon in the ocean, like going around doing all this stuff, sounds really fun. Mm-hmm. But it becomes a little too tedious. Like it's so slow paced, and there is, I don't want to spoil anything, but towards the end of the game there is like, at the very end, it's actually pretty fun. There's some stealth sections and it's fast paced, and I really enjoyed that part. But the entire game, it was like kind of just the same thing over and over and over. And I attempted to collect everything on one of those levels, and man, I mean, it took a long time to go around because your movement speed is so slow, and there's like literally like a sliver in the wall, and if you don't see that little sliver, like you're going for a long time, and then if you miss it, you have to go around you have to scan the entire level again, and it's just like
yeah. And it kind of suffers from that same issue that we were talking about with Falcon Age, where it's just like kind of emptier than it seems like it should be. Like the edges of everything look cool, and if you encounter sea life, but then there's just this big sort of blurry, empty gulf in the middle where you're just not really, there's nothing to look at and there's nothing exciting to do there.
It's not it's not good to look at. That's the problem. Like if that game had like crisp graphics and everything, I would get lost in that game for days. Like I'd be like, "Oh, I'm lost. It doesn't matter. Look how awesome these seashells and these animals and everything looks." But it looks so bad. Like that's my biggest problem with it. Like I really want them to do a pro patch with it, but they said if it sells well enough, it'll get a pro patch, but
spoiler, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
I don't think so, which is unfortunate. But maybe hopefully we'll get to the conversation with this soon. But that we do have like the talk about PS5 and everything being backwards compatible. So if nothing happens immediately, I am a little optimistic that game could be pretty sweet in the future.
Yeah, I think, and I really think it's almost deceiving at first, because I think the first level, when you first drop into it, you're like, oh, this is like bright and colorful. It's got the Jeremy aesthetics going on, and I feel like it, even though it's low res and shimmers and stuff, like it looks okay. But I feel like the further into that game you get, the darker it gets, and it kind of like hides the fact that there's nothing going on by using darkness, and you're forced to use echolocation. And then the next thing you know, it's like, then that's when you start getting lost. So I actually really sort of, despite the low res, enjoyed the first level or two, and then after that it was like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. Like I'm not even enjoying just being in this ocean. So I think it loses the initial appeal that it had pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I agree. And like I said, it does have like some fun at the very end, but it's like too little too late kind of deal, which
why wasn't that in the early stuff? They should have put that in like level 1 or 2 or something.
The stealth was how they counteracted the like collectathon stuff. It's like the only other stuff besides collectathon is the stealth, and that I'm not even the biggest fan of stealth games, but that was fun to me. Like I'm like, oh, finally some gameplay. Like I'm not even going to talk about the boss. Like
was it fun for you, or were you just happy they finally did something different?
Oh, there is gameplay. Hold on, this is cool. Yeah.
Right. No,
I was like, there's no way they're actually making me do this. Oh, they are. Oh, okay, something to do. Cool.
No, I enjoyed the ending very much. I did, because it just had a lot of style and substance, and it was fast paced, and felt like I was playing a game.
Yeah, heard. Okay. Every time you guys stop talking, everything goes like really quiet in my ears, and I'm like, I don't know if someone's still talking or not. So do we need to talk about like our favorite game of recent memory? Or at least my favorite game of recent memory.
Ghost Giant. Are we talking about Ghost Giant? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for all three of us, it's Ghost Giant, right?
Well,
absolutely.
I mean, that's one of them. Yeah, I've got another one.
Well, I was intentionally trying to move the conversation into Ghost Giant.
Okay, so we'll talk about Ghost Giant.
Ignore what you actually like. We're talking about Ghost Giant.
Zing. Okay, shout out to Zing. The game's awesome. And made by 3 people.
Over 6 years.
True.
Yeah. But man, Ghost Giant, like when we were talking about like the topics that Falcon Age covers, I'm so happy. It's like, oh good, Falcon Age is covering something we're not used to in video games. Well, I think Ghost Giant tackles something that we are kind of used to in video games, because there's been so many games that have tried to like talk about this kind of stuff, but none of them have ever done it so effectively or as well as Ghost Giant has. Discussion.
You're right. I agree with everything you just said. No, I really, it's so nuanced. The voice acting is so well done. Everything just plays out in the perfect possible way. There's a lot of dark stuff going on, but there's moments of complete just like joy, like when you've got him on the clouds and he's just having a great time, and he's a kid having a good time going through really tough circumstances. And some of that stuff, if you've ever been depressed or know people who are depressed, that shit will hit really close to home, because it's so realistic. Like the little, I don't want to say too much about the plot or anything, but like there's these little moments that just one person can use one word and it totally kills you. You're just like, oh my God, that got me in the gut. So yeah, no, I think it's probably the best delivery of like a narrative experience or like an emotional experience on PSVR, for what it is. I just loved it. The puzzles aren't very hard or even really worth talking about, but
there was a painting puzzle. There was one color I couldn't find for the longest time. Mm-hmm. Besides that, I think I sailed through it pretty quickly. But I don't need them to be like super complicated puzzles, man. It's like it's just I just want I just want an excuse to be in that world and like and like a reason to sort of hold it back in each scene and like kind of explore it a little bit more. And I think those puzzles did exactly that perfectly.
Yeah. And they had like a nice little variety to them too. Like I said before, my favorite was definitely the cemetery.
Oh, that's such a cool stage.
Yeah. I mean, him and like the hat and just everything, the style of it. And then, you know, like there's like the paranormal ghost hunter. Obviously I don't want to go too far into it, but man, it's yeah, it's a really, really good game. And it definitely hit me in the feels at some parts. Some of the lines where it just kind of crushed me. And I'm kind of curious, like I know I'm not the only one that relates to that game. Obviously, lots of people relate to that game. So it's really interesting how they were able to do something kind of specific yet so relatable to so many different people. It's pretty impressive.
It's like
actually.
the Pixar deal. I mean, kids can play this, adults can play this. Everybody gets the message. Everybody gets something out of it, and it's so
There's
well
something for
crafted.
everybody.
Yeah, it's so well crafted that like it's just gonna resonate with people. Yeah, there was something I was gonna say. Shit. Oh, So what I wanted to say is that I actually watched Godcanon play the whole thing through on stream after I had already beaten it. And the parts that made me cry the first time made me cry just the same exact fucking way. Even when I knew they were coming, man. Even when I was like, oh, this is the part, it still got me. So that's such a strong game. Like, I don't know.
The plan was to play the whole game and then talk about what I had just witnessed. And the truth is, I couldn't fucking talk about anything because if I tried to talk about anything I wanted to, I was about to cry on stream and I didn't want to do that. I don't cry, okay? I don't cry a lot, but man, that was hard. Like that was like really hard. And yeah, if I wanted to actually go into the specifics, I just couldn't. So I'm sitting there, I'm like really quiet the whole time. And you see me just like twiddling my thumbs and I'm just like, yeah, so depression, it's, and everything. And oh man, it was rough.
I mean, even when Des and I did our full spoilers review discussion on why we love PlayStation VR, like we weren't even playing it when we were talking about it. It was like 40 minutes of us just talking about the game, and I'm sure people noticed that like I fucking teared up talking about it. Like, it's such an emotional story, and like Dave touched on the voice acting, like one of the first things you said about it, but then we kind of skipped over it. Man, like Louis' voice acting, I thought I was alone on this. I honestly thought I was alone on this because and when I did the review, and I was like, man, I'm going to put this review out there, and people are going to say, what are you talking about? That kid's voice acting is horrible, and I think it's a girl actually. And I was like, but man, every single time, like just stupid little things, like when he's talking to his mom or talking to you about his mom, saying, my mom told me I was a late talker, and then one day I just said potato, and I was like, man, why do I love you so much? Right?
I was a little annoyed in the trailer because in the trailer they just had him running around screaming, and I was like, I'm not feeling this like everyone else is right now. But once you play and you get to know the character and everything, like yeah, like it's really charming. The voice acting is fantastic. Although I don't know why it's like half French and half like redneck. Like I don't understand that a whole lot, but
universal appeal.
I think that's called Louisiana. I'm pretty sure that's Louisiana.
I was thinking, where's Reth at? Reth would know a thing or two about
Captain Reth.
Yeah, Captain Reth would know and be able to explain that a little bit better. But no, oh man, and the music, oh god. All right, I can't even keep going.
Real quick, Drunk Gamer. Yes, 3 grown men are talking about crying in a VR game.
No one has ever accused me of being a grown man before. Ever.
Okay, good one. I like it.
So 2 grown men and the guy who watches iCarly.
But yeah, like AJ was saying, like I never cry at movies or games or anything like that. Stuff just doesn't, it rolls off me. It doesn't hit me. And I'm like, okay, I can tell you're trying to make me feel a certain thing here. And I know you're trying to make me feel that way, so I'm not going to feel it. Fuck you, movie. But like Ghost Giant, you just can't argue with that shit. Like it just comes for you and you're like, all right, well I guess this is happening.
I mean, I'll be honest, VR has gotten me a couple times. Like before VR, probably not so much, but anything in VR is really easy. I teared up the first time I looked up at my mech at in Archangel.
I thought you were gonna say Code 51. I almost smacked you.
No.
I feel like you told me that too. Actually, Archangel has a great story as well. I think not as good as Ghost Giant, but nothing that should make you tear up.
It was just the thought. It was just something I've wanted to see my whole life. Was like looking up and seeing a mech. It was beautiful. Moss got me pretty damn bad. There's a couple that got me, but that really shouldn't have. But everything's better in VR, so it happens.
I will say that the thing that shocked me was during that developer interview with Zoink Games. I almost forgot who made it. Zoink Games. He said that the people who wrote the music kind of already had it. Like, it was just like, hey, will this fit your game? And it's like, it wasn't even like sort of designed for Ghost Giant. And it's just like, it's almost like the universe like had this plan in action. It was hey, we just had this music ready to go, and it's totally going to fit this game that we didn't even know you were making. And man, every single time I hear even a piece of the theme music, like anywhere in the game, with different instruments or like slower or faster or whatever it does, I'm like, man, this like, it's like the Pavlovian response. Like I'm like now designed to like tear up and like feel and get emotional just from hearing the theme music. It's how I feel when I hear the iCarly theme music, man. It's just like everything is so great.
It is such a good soundtrack too, and they actually released it on vinyl. If anybody's heard it and is interested, like you can get this on record, which I feel like would be pretty cool to have. Like 400
copies.
Oh shit, get on it.
I already own it.
I don't mean you, I mean all these other people.
Yeah, get on it. Also, I already own it.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Man, I don't know if we want to get up the Ghost Giant topic so quickly, but I do want to address, and I know you guys haven't played it, but I do want to say for anyone who didn't watch my entire 3-hour chair in a room stream.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that one. I didn't grab the trailer, but I will grab the trailer right now.
It's I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about it, only because it was I mean, it's 3 hours from start to finish. I think other people like GT and stuff finished it in like 2.5 or even less than that. Like, if you didn't get stuck on any of the puzzles and stuff, it's whatever. But man, that was if you liked The Exorcist and this is exactly the game for you. Like, it's obviously made by Wolf and Woods, made by the same people, but I will say it just feels more cohesive. It's not like The Exorcist was like, hey, here's 5 ideas to scare the crap out of people. Right, they kind of divided it up that way.
Some of which were better than others, for sure.
Oh, absolutely, and some of them worked better than others. Some of them didn't even fucking work even after all the patches. Yeah. So I don't want to like shit on Wolf and Wood too much here, but like I really feel like Exorcist should be fixed by now, and I don't think it is for everybody. But on my first playthrough of A Chair in a Room, I will say that just feels like a more cohesive experience, and it's almost as scary as The Exorcist, and it's longer. It's way longer. When each chapter in Exorcist is only like 15-20 minutes long, was that like an hour and a half roughly, and this is closer to 3 hours. So if you guys are fans of horror games, like highly recommend. Huge. I'm a big fan of it. And I think it's what, $20 or something like that, 25 plus the 10% plus discount. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Just a short little blurb on that game.
I just got the trailer up, son of a bitch.
Well, let me talk about it a little bit longer then.
At least a minute and 40 seconds or something.
Yeah, I will say right off the bat, man. I was like, right off the bat, man. Wait a minute, what? It was the control scheme was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, why am I pushing square to move forward and X to walk backwards?
Well, Exorcist was like that too, right?
But how long has it been since The Exorcist? It's been long enough where you figure developers, Viva Games included, would have gotten on board with like the control scheme that everyone's acclimated to. I will say this isn't the kind of game like Immortal Legacy where like you need like high, fast Twitch responses and stuff. So like if it takes you a couple minutes to learn the control scheme, it's not a big deal. But man, like from the get-go, you're like, why can't everything just be the same, man? I don't need everything to be identical. But I feel like VR developers aren't playing other VR games.
That's totally true. I feel like even like when I see interviews with you, or like when GT does interviews or whatever, like it seems like they've played a couple PSVR games usually. Like, they don't regularly check out all the stuff that's out there. So we have a better idea of, like, maybe what the best implementation of something is on the market that they've never even touched before. And people get set in their ways too. Like, you work with a implementation and you start thinking, oh, I figured out how to make VR locomotion work, you know? And you didn't, but you think you did. And so you release it that way. So
I don't want to call anyone out specifically, but there was one developer interview that I edited this out of where I said, do you have any plans to patch the 3D rudder into your game? And his response was, what's the 3D rudder?
I think I know who that was, actually.
I don't want to say it publicly because I chopped it out of the final interview.
Yeah, we'll talk later.
But it's just one of those things where you're like, how can you be like, and this is, you know, this is somebody who's like still making VR games. This is somebody who still should be like entrenched in the ecosystem. So like, so where, like, how do you just miss something like that? I don't understand. Like, you can be that entrenched in like making your own game that you just forget that there's other things happening in the world of PSVR. I mean, it's possible.
I would be. I mean, if I was a developer, I'd at least be looking at the games that were successful and looking at what they did right. And then, you know, if there's also games that have been on the other spectrum, other side of the spectrum that were really bad, to look and try to avoid from others' mistakes. And, you know, that's what it's there for. It's the history. Also, what's up, Sunshine? Good to see you, man. And no, No Man's Sky is not out yet, Lillian. But
you should get a head start while it's flat, because if you hop in VR for the first time, you're going to be like, oh, I'm stuck on a planet and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's going to take me like 5 hours to get anywhere.
You know, this is the problem. I don't mean to change the subject, but this is about No Man's Sky though. This is the conflict that I'm having, because the problem is, you know, if you play it now and you have everything, then you're going to have less to do once the VR hits. But then again, you have a lot that you have to do.
You can't run out of shit to do, man. Like, it's No Man's Sky. It's literally
it's going to be hard. I mean, it is endless. But a part of me wants to experience getting all this stuff for the first time in VR.
Well, so I can say, as having, you know, played it again in flat screen, started a new save and everything to get ready for it, I put in like maybe 15, probably actually over 20 hours, and I haven't even scratched the surface of the shit I can do in that game. So
for me, it's different. I bought the game day one. I went on complete media blackout. Thank God for that too. So when it came out, I completely understand everybody that was mad about it. I don't blame you for getting a refund or whatever, but I was like, I'm just going to stick with it so it took me about 80 hours to beat the base game.
Yeah.
And
well, but that didn't have any of the new stuff either, like none of the base building, none of the quests, no storylines,
that was pre-patched.
Yeah.
Right, and that changed a lot. So I'm kind of maybe in a little bit different position where, you know, I've already got all my tutorial stuff, all my ship stuff to like warp to a couple different planets, stuff like that.
So I'm not talking to you when I say make sure you play it flat first. I'm talking to people who've never touched No Man's Sky and think, oh, I want to hop into a spaceship and cruise the universe. And it's going to take you a while before you can reliably do that without running out of shit and dying.
I agree. You're going to want to catch up with your friends and everything. However, if you start when the VR patch drops, you're still going to have a damn good time.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm just saying optimizing your experience. Like, for me, I want my first VR moment to be a breathtaking one, not like oh, fuck, where do I get this part for my ship that I need? And I can't move it anywhere for the first 2 hours because I need to find all these parts and stuff. Like, I want to be wowed the first time I put it on in VR, because I have played it flat too, so I kind of know what the deal is with No Man's Sky.
I'm not going to disagree with you guys, but I'm going to kind of disagree with you guys, right? Like, I feel like
that's what we're here for.
I feel like if you're not like a YouTuber and you're not like trying to review this game, you don't have grand desire to like get some coverage out there, then like, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, hey man, like, kick back and relax and wait for that VR patch to drop and let the first experience you have with No Man's Sky be a VR experience. You know, like, don't ruin it for yourself. Like, so you don't need to know what's coming. You don't need to know what to expect. You know, even that early IGN impression article that was written a while back was
sweet.
That was sweet. And the guy even said, you know, like, in VR, like, all those menus, like, none of that's an issue anymore. It's all just like, it all just feels so natural. So in my book, like, I know I need to drop in and play it for like 30 or 40 hours over the next 2 months, right? So that when the VR patch comes, I'm going to be ready to review it soon after, like after I spend another 10 or 20 hours. And that's my role for this game. But I think the three of us are in a much different situation than most people who are going to be dropping into No Man's Sky for the first time. I don't think I personally don't think there's any need for it. But like Dave said, if you want to be hanging out with your friends and stuff and you want to be caught up to where they are, that's a whole different story.
But see, here's
and
the
that's
beauty
a huge
of that
part
game.
of the fun too, like the multiplayer stuff, which is about
the
to
beauty
get
of the
expanded.
game though is that if you don't, your friends can help you get caught up. Like we were playing with Jay and we're playing with Dave and a couple other people, and like you can build cars for each other now and stuff. And when you build something, when everybody's at the same base and you build something for one person, everybody gets one. So it really, there's so many different ways to play it and experience it. I mean, it's just going to be awesome.
You should be careful though, because this happened to me. Like in the very beginning of the game, you're going to have moments where you sort of need to do something yourself, like unlock a blueprint for something. And if you rely on other people, you'll get stranded in a way where you can't go back unless you do that. Right. So like I was jumping all over the universe because people were like, oh, I got warp cells, I'll give you a warp cell. But I couldn't build warp cells. So I was just like in some place and I didn't know how to teleport. And so I was like, I have to wait for my friends to even get back to where I need to be.
So you got stranded
I got stuck. Yeah, so just don't go too fast. Don't go too fast. Like take a little bit, but
get your ship fixed first at the very least.
Yeah, there's some like crafting stuff you have to figure out yourself. You can't just have somebody give you the items because eventually you'll need it yourself. But
what was it? What was the whole deal about? I'm looking up the sales for No Man's Sky because there was an excellent quote somebody had. I think it might have even been Sean Murray about this is going to be like on release, the game that is in most VR gamers' hands from day one. Like, because everybody already fucking owns this game.
Yeah, I really like that concept too, because like when they announced it, I didn't even think about that, but a lot of people already have it sitting around. So
whether they've touched it since day one or not, like I've had the collector's edition or whatever. I played it for like 3 hours on day one and never went back to it. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll play this someday. I had no idea that there was actually going to be a VR patch for it. And so, yeah, I think a ton of people are going to drop into this on day one.
I wouldn't even open that copy if I were you.
I played it day one.
Oh, okay. You did play it day one. Okay.
People are still selling collector's editions for like $20 too. Like,
I wish I bought that thing. I bought it digital. I'm probably gonna double dip on that game. Maybe. I don't know. Unless I lose my save file, so never mind.
Why is everything backwards? Cameras are weird.
That's how the world really looks.
Isn't everything upside down? No, what is it? What is that? I don't know.
Is that from your Flat Earthers Netflix?
Probably. Yeah. Dude, so wait, dude, so Flat Earthers, right? Time out on the PSVR.
Hold on, sorry. I messed up the OBS. As soon as we start talking. It's not hard to go toe to toe. I mean, there's nothing factual.
That makes it even harder, though.
That's true, yeah, because if you're arguing with fantasy instead of something different.
Yeah, it's
so dismissive, it's ridiculous. Like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then they move on to something else. And whoa, back up. You just got fucking your ass handed to you. All right. So No Man's Sky. It's a shit.
Trailer back.
Dave is finally feeling the GAMESCAST pain.
Oh yeah, I'm the jockey here. Okay, so we're good. Table of Tales is a really unique kind of PSVR game. I don't think we have anything at all like this. It's like a turn-based RPG, a little bit of strategy thrown in there, and it's got a lot of like D&D sort of inspiration. Like you roll dice, your characters have different stats, and say like certain thing requires charisma, And so you go up, and depending on who's got the most charisma, you roll against the thing. So if you played tabletop games, it's like super familiar, but a really cool way to do it in VR because it's all just happening on the table in front of you, and you can see in the trailer, like, it's really well done. The way that they do it is very clever.
Dave, I don't know if you're seeing in the chat here. Apparently, your trailers are really loud.
Oh, hold on, shit.
Yeah, I used to do that all the time.
Wait, they're mute. It's muted.
Just is this the trailers?
Yeah, it's muted. What do you mean? It's
okay, maybe it was the No Man's Sky one.
Scott said he was getting ready for Amanda's stream. This is a nice warm up for that.
Okay, so maybe.
I wonder what she's playing. Do we know what she's playing?
I do.
Ooh, the scoop. He's got the scoop.
Oh man, can you can you throw us a bone?
I don't know if that's a thing, man. I feel like seeing it pop up and seeing what Amanda's versing this week.
I'm cool. I'm cool with the surprise. The Brookhaven Experiment, I gotta say, that was amazing.
I think it's the best without Parole live stream yet.
Probably. The Brookhaven Experiment's such a good game, and yeah, I was really proud of her. That game is hard as shit, and she did like really well, all things considered. You know. Most people tap out really fast on that game, and she beat like a few levels and shit, and was like cussing at them, and
yeah, it was like so consistent too. Like she screamed exactly the same way every time she saw a zombie in the game, as if she had never seen one in the game before. I was like, how does she keep this up? This level of reaction, like she's made to be a VR streamer almost, because she's just like balls to the wall, like fuck you, get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Tables of Tales, Tin Man Games, extremely polished. I love the fact that it's not just put your character here. You say, well, so like what I loved about it was like it felt like, besides the multiple paths and stuff, but
oh yeah, the paths are great.
I've never played D&D before. I've always wanted to though, but I've never actually played it. So it was my first. The only Dungeons and Dragons I played was the arcade side-scrolling beat 'em
which
up,
is nothing like Dungeons and Dragons at all. Yeah,
that's not how Dungeons and Dragons really is.
It is a good game.
It is a Capcom one, right?
Both of them. Yeah,
I think it is Capcom.
And they're arcade games, and they're sick.
People are upset they didn't put those on that ugly Capcom arcade stick that's coming out.
Yeah, they're probably pretty good. I mean, well, they're probably better than, which is why. But yeah, I love the dice. I think the dice and the decision making. I usually don't like decision making in games where it's like, well, if you tell this person to fuck off, then it's going to completely alter the path of whatever. And I usually don't really care for that. But something about like, well, if you roll the dice and it lands bad, then your whole ship is fucked. I like that kind of like high stakes to it.
Oh yeah, there's real consequences, which is really cool. And like, this isn't much of a spoiler, but in the first like 10 minutes of the game, they make you kill off one of your characters in the party. And you're like, wait a second, I just started this and I have to make that big of a decision? And it like sets the tone of like, listen, you're gonna have to make like decisions that have consequences. And it changes your whole playthrough every time. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna add to that. Yeah, on top of it being a major decision you have to make, it totally changes like what happens in the story. Like there are things that are related to each character. You go to different characters like home worlds or whatever, and like if you killed off one of the characters, well, you don't get to see their home world that playthrough. And so between the decisions and the in-game decisions of where you want to go and what you want to do, that it gives you, I say fairly frequently, and that decision about killing off a character, it's like, I mean, I'm guessing that like you really need to play through this game at least 3 times, and the fact that it's like only about a 3-hour game or so, it really lends itself to multiple playthroughs.
Yeah, and then if you've got friends over, physically on your couch, it's got the local multiplayer too, which is sort of like an asynchronous, like one person's in the VR headset and is like the king of the trap castle or whatever. You set up all these traps and try and kill everybody else, and they're all together against you. We tried playing that, but weren't able to over share play, so I still haven't done it, but it seems like it'd be a fun thing to check out if you get friends over.
Yeah, I haven't tried it myself.
Didn't work. Online multiplayer would have been much better. Later, Rhodey, and also thank you, Joystick, for the $2 donation.
Shout out, Joystick.
For the first wonderful show. Love the setup. I can't believe you guys basically pulled this out of your ass today. So yeah, good job, guys.
Wouldn't be here without you guys, man. So thank you.
I wouldn't be here at all.
You'd be in a gutter.
I'd
be in a gutter scraping pools or something. I don't know.
I was gonna say that unintentionally got real morbid real fast in my head.
I wasn't sure where we were going now.
I don't know.
I would just cease to exist altogether.
All time would stop. But no, love Tables of Tales. The narration's really good too. I love the storytelling. Just a rich game. That's, if I had to sum up Table of Tales in one word, rich.
Yeah. I think I don't know how I feel about the narration. I think sometimes it's laughably bad and intentionally so, because it's almost like you have a dungeon master there, like telling you the story and going and using different voices. It's like one person telling the story and using different voices.
And that's why it's so cool, I think.
Yeah, that's what the whole thing, that's the whole thing about Dungeons and Dragons is, like, the better your dungeon master is, the better they convey the story, that's like changes your entire experience.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's just funny in VR seeing like this. Is it a bird? What is it?
It's a bird.
It's a bird.
It's kind of ridiculous, and you do get used to it after a while. But you're like, but sometimes I just watch the bird, like, talk, and I'm like just switching voices from one to another, and it's so goofy. But it's definitely a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of it.
I guess it's better than having like a 50-year-old like bearded overweight guy just like sitting on the other side of the table from you, just telling you what's going on.
That would be pretty funny.
Yeah, but I do want to address some of the conversation happening in the chat. Magic was asking about dreams. He says dreams will be huge. Comments, guys. Do we know that dreams will have limited? They keep saying limited PSVR support at launch. I think the amount of limited content is going to be very important.
Yeah, that's the make or break for it. It's going to be a huge game regardless, but for us, it depends on how limited it is. Even if it has a good amount of content, well, it'll be great. It'll be amazing. But if it's like severely limited, like, oh, you can do one thing in VR, like that's, and I frankly don't see that happening, but that's the only thing that's going to completely kill it for us. If it's like you have like barely anything to work with, but I think they'll give us enough to have some fun.
But there's only two things you're doing in dreams. You're making games or you're playing games. It's like, right. So where's the limited part? Are you just not able to make? I'd actually be okay if they were like, you can't use the creation tools in VR. It would suck to have to go and sit on a flat screen and do it that way. And then, but if you get to drop into the game and play it in VR, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll take that at launch.
Well, I think alternatively, it might be cool to have, not many people would use it this way, but even for a flat screen game, it'd be cool to have the depth of working in your area in VR, like with the Move controllers, even if you're not building a VR game, like just to be able to look at stuff from every angle and move around the world. I feel like that would make it a little bit easier.
I don't know. It's hard to.
It's cautiously optimistic. Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I'm mostly just trying to pull the trailer up.
Let's just put it this way. There's a lot of games that are coming out that we know of that are full VR games, and they're confirmed VR. And I'm not saying anything against it, but there's just a lot to look forward to that is already known to have VR.
Peggy 12,
like full VR support, and that has my interest first. I'm really hoping Dreams is good though.
So what's our most anticipated confirmed VR game then?
Sirento looks pretty fun, but I don't know how well the port is going to go, to be honest. We'll see when Sirento gets here. I think I like the concept of it a lot. I just don't have anything else off the top of my head, so somebody else can go.
Easily No Man's Sky for me.
Oh,
it was, though. It was Star Child, which we haven't heard anything about. Last I had it pre-ordered, and it was scheduled for like December 31st. It was actually supposed to come out fall of last year. But they need to do some kind of announcement or something, because with stuff like No Man's Sky, Iron Man coming out, like my hype for it is fading slowly. And I don't want that to happen. But it's just, I don't want it to take so long that something better comes out, but we'll see. Star Child is besides No Man's Sky, my other favorite, my most anticipated.
Yeah, I mean, I think we always have to start these conversations with other than No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I forgot. Like when you said No Man's Sky, I was like, duh, I should have said that.
Yeah. So other than No Man's Sky, I mean, everybody's, I think, is mine. I'm seriously disappointed that there's not like online multiplayer.
Right.
Can't figure out what the point.
Well, hopefully you're not disappointed that there's only 3 courses too.
Is it 3 or 4? Is it 3?
It's 3, but the main game has 6 total, so it's not like a big jump. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's plenty of places to explore and different weather effects. There's going to be, if you've played any golf game, which I know you have, you can make a lot out of 3 courses for sure.
Oh, well, so I've played everybody's golf. I've played non-VR everybody's golf pretty much weekly since it came out.
Oh, really? Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, my dad. I see my parents like, you know, every so often, and every time I do, my dad and I sit down, we play 18 holes in everybody's golf.
That's a really nice family tradition. I like that.
Yeah, and actually, my niece and nephew are part of it too. We all have our own characters that look just like us, and yeah, and my niece and nephew are young. They're like 8 and 9 or 8 and 10 or something like that. I'm a horrible uncle. I don't even know how old they are.
I'm the same way, dude. I have 2 nephews, and I can't tell you how old they are.
But you wouldn't think that like an 8-year-old would be interested in sitting down and playing a round of golf with Uncle Brian and their grandfather. But like, but they do, and we all have a blast with it. So like, and the fact is that game has had a bunch of DLC. And so, you know, like you get like 2 courses for $5 or something like that. I don't know exactly what it is. But we downloaded all of it. And it's like, so I don't know how many we're up to now, but man, it's like if everybody's golf VR just keeps pushing out, it's like, okay, here's your $30 game, you know, but like eventually it'll cost you $60 because you keep downloading all the DLC. Totally fine. Right. Totally fine with that because I'm a huge fan of everybody's golf.
It's so hard to pay attention because there's so many good comments. I mean, Lillian's talking about Redemption's Guild. I'm not really overly excited for that because, you know, I don't even know when that's going to be coming, but that's kind of like the first MMO in VR is what Redemption's Guild I think is supposed to be, something like that. Yeah. Kev Gret says Starchild is vaporware for now. I won't argue against that.
Oh, I will.
It's coming. No, it's coming.
Pretty much. I'm going to argue it just because Kev Gret said it. Kev Gret's the anti-Brian Paul.
Well, he called us like 3 major VR heavyweights, so we shouldn't argue with him on everything. We'll accept some of it.
No, that also doesn't make any sense. This is a full-on argument I'm having with Kev Gret on the air. He was the number one. So just a backtracking here, there were 2 people that I thought when I published my Immortal Legacy review, there are going to be a ton of people going like, I'm fucking unsubscribing because Bryan Paul is suddenly on crack. Right? and so
Kev Gret would definitely be one of those if there was one.
Well, Kev Gret was, but he was like, I played the entire game and I disagree with you entirely. He's like, he actually played the whole game, and I fucking respect that.
Yeah, you can't say anything,
right? But then there was Chaos, who I absolutely love as well, who was like, I gave up after 10 or 15 minutes. This game is garbage, and I was like, well, you can't do that. You like, right? And so basically,
and to be fair, Kev Gret seemed like he liked the game until the ending. I haven't played the. Hopefully, we'll find out tonight.
He doesn't like the story. He doesn't like the controls. He doesn't like he doesn't like a lot of it.
So Stay Warm 420 also says Undead Citadel. We know nothing about that game. We don't know a lot about it. The only concern I have about that game is that team is small, and I don't know how long they've been working on it.
It's the Mervils devs, right? Same guys who made Mervils. No, what's the one?
No,
which one is
Shadow Legacy.
Shadow Legacy. Okay. Jesus Christ, so many games with similar fucking
is that what it's
names.
Called?
Sunshine mentioned.
I thought it was Undead Citadel, but
okay. Yeah. Shadow something.
Shadow. Fuck, what's that? It can't be Legacy.
Shadow Dancer VR. Please make it happen. Sunshine mentioned Borderlands 2 DLC. That will be good. That just gives you more reason to play Borderlands. And with the aim. Soma mentions Golem. Am I the only one that doesn't give a shit about Golem?
I don't give a shit about Golem.
I don't care about Golem. Like,
wait. I care about Golem.
Somebody gives it.
Only because I feel like with a game that's been in development for that long, I feel like they're doing the thing that we wanted Viva Games to do. They're doing the thing that we keep saying, how come these developers aren't playing other PlayStation VR games? How come these guys aren't keeping up with the times and actually like looking around and changing their game during development? And I really think Kev Grit just said, please stop playing the Immortal Legacy trailer.
Sorry, man. We started talking about Immortal Legacy again. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. This is my first day, Kev. Jesus.
No idea what
do you want? I couldn't play Dreams anymore.
Child,
We're not talking about Dreams anymore.
You need Blood and Truth. Saturna is looking forward to Blood and Truth.
Yeah.
2% No Man's Sky. I don't think it will be a disappointment. I think it's going to be amazing.
On Pro, I think No Man's Sky is going to be awesome. I'm very curious to see what it looks like on the OG.
Right. Yeah.
That could be a huge disappointment.
I don't think it's gonna. No, that's a good point. Actually, I don't actually think it's gonna look great on the OG. But who knows? It just needs to look good enough. The Golf VR is not separate. Yeah, it is separate. It's not part of the actual game.
Totally separate game.
Windlands 2, we have no idea when that's coming out.
So excited for it though. The first game was so good, and then adding multiplayer and archery and like enemies and stuff. That's what I wanted in the first game. Yeah, it's gonna be really good.
But yeah, I had to concentrate on the chat because they were throwing some gold.
Yeah, right I just really hope that who is it? It's not Disruptive Games made Megalith, so it's Highwire Games. I don't know. Whoever's making Golem is. I just really hope that all these delays are coming from them going, you know what? In 2015, this game was pretty good, but in 2019, this game doesn't hold up with the competition. Yeah. So I really hope so. I feel like Sony believes in this team, and Sony's probably backing the whole project. So they're probably like, just take your time, get it right. And then when it's ready, we'll push it out.
I don't know how much I trust Sony 100% to know that a game is like.
Yeah,
I think they've let games come out that still feel like launch games that shouldn't feel like launch games anymore.
Right.
Wait, let games come out like that they published
and forced click turning. Yeah. Like if Sony had their finger on the community, they would not let a single game be launched without. They wouldn't allow a single game to be released without the option for smooth turning.
Right. It's true. It's absolutely true.
We got blinders through. We got like every game has optional blinders now. I don't know what it took, but now it's smooth turning. Like now we got to tell every single one, please stop doing snap turning only.
That's one where sometimes it's a performance thing. Like sometimes that's because it can't maintain a steady frame rate if you smooth turn. And they just can't get around that because Sony will say, nah, your frame rate sucks. Like,
which I understand. You know, I do understand that if performance is a little messed up, it's kind of a problem. I still would prefer it with the performance mess ups than having the snap turning. And for the record, every single dev I talk to, they're like, well, you know, people get sick. They're like, they never once mentioned that it's for performance. They always, when I talk to them specifically, every single time has been, we just didn't know smooth turning was a thing that people liked.
I mean, it makes it sound better if you're a dev explaining your decisions. If you're like, oh, we didn't know people didn't get motion sick. It's nothing to do with our game. You know, we'll just, you know, like.
Does it make them sound better being that far out of fucking touch with the gamers?
No, but it puts it back on us. Like, oh, we just didn't know you guys were that cool. Instead of like, you know, on the performance.
What's up, Grim Catnip of the Catnip Games? We have another Catnip Games coming up. It's going to be To the Top, baby.
Sponsored by PSVR without Parole.
Ooh. Yes. So make sure you guys join our Discord and sign up there and come play. I mean, you should be playing To the Top anyways. I talked to our mate recently. They're doing well. Dan, one of the developers, just got married. Congratulations to you, sir.
Dan. Let's hear it for Dan. Everybody in the chat.
Dan, man. Woo!
Woo, you made a great game. Hopefully you'll make a great husband.
I'm sure he will. I'm hoping, man, I can't, speaking of which, just to throw this out there, I can't wait to see what they're working on next, man. If I would honestly be happy with like a To the Top skin update or like texture update, but if they're making a new game, which they probably are, man, and it's similar, holy shit, it's going to be good.
Well, the other thing that really excites me about the future of that is that the Panic Button is the studio that's like the parent studio of the guys who made To the Top. So it's like a subsidiary of Panic Button. And Panic Button has done some crazy ports to Switch. Games that should not run on Switch. Right. They made them run on Switch. And I'm thinking if they have a subsidiary that's doing well, making good games, maybe they think about, okay, we could probably port so-and-so game over to PSVR because we already have a background in porting. Go ahead.
Electric Cat isn't part of Panic Button.
They made that game while they were working at
Right,
Dan,
I'm pretty sure it's a subsidiary, or they're somehow related to each other.
Dan was from Panic Button, and then they created Electric Hat Games with Armage.
Did they publish it? I think they published it or something at least.
Panic Button was involved too. Yeah,
there was a relationship between the two studios to get it to PlayStation VR, but there's no ownership there at all.
I'm just saying it's exciting that Panic Button had anything to do with a VR game, because if anybody could bring some of these games that people say that'll never run, they could do it. Right. I think.
Right. They mentioned like what's the guy's like? I think his name's Adam Creighton or something, but he's like the CEO or something of Panic Button, and he was saying if there was enough demand, they would try to get Subnautica over to.
There would be
VR,
demand, right? I think, although it doesn't
there is, but there's a difference between there being demand and people actively knowing like where to go and show that there's demand.
Yeah,
I don't want to bring up. The truth is, as much as I want Subnautica, we have No Man's Sky coming, and also that game barely runs on PC VR, so I'm not very like hopeful that it's going to make it. No Man's Sky really took care of a lot of a lot of games that I wanted.
They've added so much underwater stuff to No Man's Sky too, where it's like why do you need Subnautica if you can just float around underwater in No Man's Sky?
I'm trying to find information about Firesprite, who obviously made the Persistence.
Yeah.
What was the recent news we just heard about Firesprite? Where they're talking about like they've got like 3 or 4 games in development, and one of them is like a major IP, major RPG IP.
No, I do remember hearing about that.
I'm looking for the quote, but I can't find it.
I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was from like your interview.
Oh, I don't think that's a thing.
You scooped yourself.
No, you did.
No, I was actually disappointed because we did the interview like 2 weeks before they made this major announcement, and I was like, oh, you guys were holding out on me. But no, it's like, but the fact that like, I mean, Firesprite's such like, I mean,
the Persistence is so legit. That was the first. That was the first like AAA quality full length game we got last year. You could say Sprint Vector, because Sprint Vector was technically a full game and a lot of fun. It's just people didn't want to sweat so much. But the Persistence was like my lifesaver last year when I needed like a AAA fully polished game that was like up to Resident Evil 7 standards. And yeah, it was my game of the year until the rest of the year happened. But
no, I mean that was one of those games where like you're looking forward to it for so long. I think I screwed myself over by being so excited about Falcon Age, but in the same way I was excited about the Persistence didn't let me down even remotely. I was like,
oh no, yeah.
Even when I found out it was a roguelite and I was like going to have to die over and over and over. I feel like at first I was like, this is kind of shallow, and then I was like, oh, this is really fucking deep. And I really, really enjoyed that game to the point where I'm totally ready to like drop back into that game and just play it all over again.
Turner, what's going on with Rec Room, man? Why is it free? Because it was free on PC and it did really well. And when they brought it to PS4, it did even better. So it remains free because it's probably around like the 500,000 mark, if not much more.
Yeah, so they had an initial investment of like several $1 million to build out the game while it was free, and I think the idea is that at some point you can buy stuff in the game. Actually, they've started doing some of that already with cosmetics on PC, I think. Maybe not on PS4. But I think they're going to monetize it at some point, but it's sort of like get it in everybody's hands, get them excited, and then we'll make some cash on the back end.
And I'm totally cool with that, man. Like, as long as it's always cosmetic and they're not like, oh, you have to pay $10 for the new quest. It's not like that. You're just it's always gonna be free according to them. If you just want to like, if you're really into cosmetics, and when you got millions of people playing your game, it's easy to make a ton of money really quickly on simple stuff like cosmetics.
Yeah, like Apex Legends, Fortnite, anything like that. That's all their money is.
Right.
Yes, JD, we are still talking about Jupiter and Mars, by the way.
Oh yeah, we're going back to that. We can totally talk about Jupiter and Mars.
No, please. I'm good on that for now. Just nice. I hope there's a pro patch. That's the summary.
And an auto map. I need an auto map. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with that idea.
Well, they said if you had the money or the funds, they would have put an auto map. They said they didn't even have time to do it. I don't even like the HUD that they have. Like, there's for being so anti-HUD, the HUD that they have is like it doesn't even make sense really. I understand wanting to have less, but anyways, damn it, JD, look what you did.
You derailed the entire conversation.
Totally played to my weaknesses.
All right, since this is our first show, let's I want to wrap it up. We talked like our favorite PSVR games. We talked about our favorite ones of recent memory. We talked about all the new releases. So just to kind of cap it all off and end it on a fucking hilarious, funny, terrible end note. What's our biggest disappointment of recent memory for PSVR?
Oh.
And there's so many different ways you can take this. Obviously, like fucking Boxing Apocalypse shouldn't have been a disappointment because no one thought it was going to be any good.
If you're not excited about it, I mean,
it doesn't count.
But like Eden Tomorrow, man, like that looked like it could have been this epic adventure, and it was like an epic, boring.
Well, let me bring up. But as soon as I played the demo, I knew that shit was not going to be good. Like I was like, this seems like a launch game, and not even a great launch game.
Okay, biggest disappointment is that they've re-released Conrad the Kitten as a bundle and increased the fucking price.
Well, because now there's multiple cats.
Dude,
Conrad's
just
got his own kittens.
I'm just kidding. That's not my biggest disappointment.
They just dropped, just FYI for Conrad the Kitten. I want to shout out to Conrad developer. This is a huge update, by the way, because they're trying to like re-promote it because this is, even though when you check the patch notes, it's like version 1.6 or something. This is what they're calling Conrad V2 version 2.0, even though that's not the official patch number. And it adds like a ton of environments and a ton of different things to do. So if you already own Conrad the Kitten, drop back in and check out all the updates because it's significant.
You're welcome. You got to play on Plushy Mode, where you strap one of your Move controllers to a stuffed animal. I did that, and I really wanted to make a video out of it because it's actually kind of fun. I wish Falcon Age had a way to have like a little falcon on your hand in real life. Like that would be so you could just pet it. Right.
I don't know if I've had a bigger disappointment than Bravo Team yet. I'm still salty about that one. Bravo Team is still just bothers me for some reason.
As far as recently, I would say probably Jupiter and Mars I was really excited about, and it didn't do that much for me. It's not like the worst game in the world, but it's not up to what I was expecting. And then and Wizards. I feel the same way about Wizards. It didn't blow me away. I did not get into Wizards.
This was a little underwhelming. It's like it sets the. You think there's going to be like a bunch of bosses. You think there's going to be like a bunch of levels, a bunch of story. Usually, a fantasy game is supposed to have a really good story. That's like the one thing about fantasy that you're supposed to get right, and it's just like.
It was basically a wave shooter that they were like, oh, let's try and spruce this up a little bit and make it seem like it's not a wave shooter. I know
everybody's kind of divided on the combat, though. I did really like the combat. I really like spotting the different magic things. I did like that a lot, though.
Maybe I'm a heretic, or you can throw me out of the show now, but I really liked Mage's Tale better than Wizards because I felt like there was a little bit more of a narrative to it. At least I didn't feel like they tacked on a bunch of shit on top of a wave shooter. And then there's something that was nice to me about just the quick flick of the wrist to select your spell, and then you still have sort of an action, like you have to throw the ice javelin a certain way or whatever. But like having to go like this every fucking time in Wizards I wanted to do something, it just wasn't reliable enough, and it didn't make it more fun to me. It just made it more stressful.
I'll agree that it wasn't totally reliable, but I will say that it was, in my book, more fun than just selecting one.
Well, yeah, that's totally a preference thing. For me, that was more functional, so I had more fun with the combat because I felt like I was in control of it, like I mastered it. Whereas that one, I couldn't really get it to do what I wanted.
Berbercat says evasion is his biggest letdown, and I got to say that we don't need to get into evasion, but we do need to say that like evasion and the Wizards actually have the same problem is that they were marketed so poorly as the wrong kind of game. Like the Wizards seemed like this epic narrative, and then evasion seemed like this like adventure, but both of them turned out to be just kind of glorified wave shooters. And so then you're like, oh, this is, but this just feels shallow overall. In those the bait cards in the Wizards, those are just like simple modifiers, right? It's like, so they really oversold some of the smaller elements. I don't know, like I feel like if we were they said, hey, the Wizards is this new wave shooter, but you get to be like Harry Potter and throw spells and shit, you'd be like, all right, cool. But then you get in and you're like, oh, that's not what this is at all.
Yeah.
So
okay, I have my biggest disappointment, and who is it that helped me figure it out? I think a Hobbit. Resident Evil 2 not having VR support. That's my biggest disappointment.
Yeah, I think I might have to follow suit with you, because since Resident Evil 7 is my favorite VR game, yet the fact that we got another Resident Evil game using supposedly the same engine, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. That engine was built from the ground up to make it make games easy to put into VR. And there are still rumors persisting, in Facebook groups, etc., that who knows if you should trust those, that it's still happening, that like it's possible
if you should trust them or not. Yeah, I don't think you should trust them.
We shouldn't trust them, but the rumors persist.
But guys, wait, there was a patent for a new Move controller that had a joystick on it.
I'm sure Polish Paul has 7 videos
tomorrow.
saying Resident Evil 2. Yeah.
Hey, it could be true one day in like 20 years.
Of course.
Maybe.
So technically, Polish Paul's videos are just way early. There's like
yeah.
That technically makes him a prophet.
He's playing the long game.
It's probably going to happen one day,
Did you say he's in it for profit? No, sorry.
Too funny, man. Too funny. I hope he's watching this somewhere.
Love you, Paul.
I'm awesome. Wishy-washy.
Well, I just like you just
I like
fine.
Paul.
Nice. All right, guys, what do you think? That was a pretty awesome episode. First episode of the PlayStation VR games, PSVR GAMESCAST live. Wow, that doesn't sound right at all in my head. It's basically a soft relaunch of PSVR GAMESCAST live. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys and talking about PlayStation VR games. I really enjoy the chat that stuck with us the entire time. And man, I'm really, really glad that we found the way to do this from Davestation's house. Because fuck Charter. Can we just be honest?
My laptop is so hot right now, by the way. It's like I could cook an egg on it, essentially. It's pretty bad.
Awesome.
Aren't you vegan, though?
I'm not vegan. Who told you I'm vegan? I was vegetarian for a time, but not vegan.
No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Brian, for having me, and thanks, Dave, for joining us, man. It's great to have you along, and of course, thank you to the Game Cats, man, because we wouldn't be here without you guys, man.
You guys, the real
Brody,
MVPs out there.
Justin, all you guys, man.
Also, as a closing message, Berbercat said, Arc Park was a shitload of hype and a shitload of crap. Yeah, I think that's an awesome message to go out on.
I don't know how you screwed that game up, but
I think we know exactly how they screwed it up. Big time is the answer. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I'm Brian. That's Dave. That's AJ. We're all here. We're saying goodnight, and we love you all.
Thanks for tuning in. I guess I'm the one in charge of actually stopping. I could keep you hostage. We're just gonna stay here as long as I want, Brian. We're not done yet.
I've got nothing to do. I just don't want to run into Amanda streaming. So everyone, check out.
Evil Dead 2, Aliens, watch Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, actually, they just re-released the 40th edition of Alien, and I got the Blu-ray sitting in my house. I haven't watched it yet because all my shit's like next door.
I kid you not, Aliens on Blu-ray looks better than like any modern day Blu-ray than you can find today.
Wait, no, I have Aliens on Blu-ray.
Is it like the newest
the second one
edition or whatever?
The second one.
It was like the it was like the quadrilogy box set.
Yeah,
I think they've remastered it since then, even maybe, or at least they did for the first one.
It looks really good. It looks really good.
And thank you to Wolfie Smith for another awesome tips. It's a great show, the format, and great to see GC and Dave. Thank you so much, Wolfie Smith.
Thanks, Wolfie.
See, it's a good thing we didn't stop streaming when you told me to.
Just shout out to Wolfie too, man. Wolfie beat my Vertigo home score, and he said that in order to get first place, it's probably going to take about 16 hours. So good luck to those with that have the balls to try that, and
that's crazy.
We'll give you a shout out if you can beat it, and tell us how long it took you, and get your cake on.
Get your cake on.
Get your cake on. We'll send you a cake. He's sending cakes.
Send me
to home addresses.
Send me a pizza.
All my Vertigo home people know what's up. They know about the cake.
The cake is a lie. Don't believe them. All right, are we out of here?
Yeah, I think we're good. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. You guys are great. Thanks, Brian, for having me.
Of course.
AJ, awesome as always. And I'm gonna click stop streaming now. So see y'all later on.
Bye-bye.